All right, this is RF, and you're listening to Country Lunch on WOOL 91.5 FM from Bellows Falls, Vermont. And we're going into the second segment of today's interview with Paleo Mountain Man and Budcat 7. Okay, guys, where'd you guys leave off?
We were talking about the spiritual nature of the walls and the transforming power of white quartz crystal, the temporal mind of these ancient people, excuse me, which is something, a premise that I started off with, which is, can you get into the temporal mind of these people by looking at what they left behind? That's how I found all these images myself, was to look closer and closer and closer. And it started out with the stone wall, and this is when Dave and I started getting in touch. I walked up to a part of the wall that had a triangle-shaped stone in it. It was like an upside-down pyramid built into the wall, and it looked so unnatural, not like a farmer threw it up there on top of the ledge, this beautiful shaped stone. And the closer I looked at it, they were all shaped around it, and the stones around that were all shaped. And I went to myself, there's something going on here. And I started going on YouTube, and because that's what I do, I like YouTube. And I found Dave real quick, and he said giants. He said the word giants to me. That changed my life. Okay.
You still there, Budcat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave's the one that did this to me. So if you're going to blame anyone, you have to blame Dave, because he put the seed of the giants in my mind. I knew nothing about giants except the beanstalk guy, and I thought he was just a fairy tale, but turns out there's giants sleeping in my backyard. There's mounds on the property. There's giants, traces of giants everywhere, oversized axes, 30-pound hammers, things like that. But those are just the normal things that you find in a giant cemetery, but it's the abstract art and the supernatural nature of it. And that's the only I like to be a scientist, but I can't be a scientist thinking that these things were created, the images themselves, into the smallest corners of these hard stone. How did they do it? Well, I'm not even going to think about how they did it. Why did they do it? Well, they're telling their story. That's where I'm going to go. The temporal mind is telling their story, and I feel like they want me to tell their story. I'm here doing that.
How many stories? Is there one for mankind and one for the people they're talking to?
Simple story.
Simple stories?
It's simple. It gets down to the simple nature of everything you can do for yourself, which goes to everyone else. If you can make yourself a better person every day, and the way I do it is I look at the stone walls, and it gives me the impetus to go further into myself, my creative powers, my nature. And if you can focus on something in your life to make you a better person every day, and everything around you will become better. And that's pretty much the nature of what I think we're talking about, is being a better person. And if you can do it through a stone wall, through an image, through being creative. I like to talk about creativity and creative nature because that's a powerful nature in a person, a creative nature. People say, well, he's got pareidolia, he's seeing faces. Well, pareidolia, it's not a bad thing. I think it was a spark of creativity in ancient people. They saw an image in the cave light on the wall and said, wow, look at that. Let's see what we can do with that. And it sparked creative genius in these people. They did it for thousands of years. I mean, most of what they did is gone. It's buried, it's gone. But quartz crystal lasts a long time, and it's still here. And it's still here. And the images are here speaking for these people. And it's in the walls. The walls stay, and they're built on ledge, and they were built to last. And Dave and I started looking at the walls saying, wow, that looks like they're trying to say something. We had no idea it would lead down to this whole civilization that left their memory behind. And that's
And
what we found
that's
here.
the whole thing. We know, from the research that our friends Andrew and Phil are doing with the nubs and the bevel block,
Very important.
that messages in the walls, messages in these ancient stone constructions are just ubiquitous among all these cultures. So the walls of any stone walls of the past seem to have messages and stories in them and trying to impart some sort of information to us. And it didn't end with the stone walls in New England. It continued through everything. And the civilization that was here in the northeastern part of North America could have been the earliest civilization here, and the Adena and the Hopewell came afterwards.
Hmm.
We certainly know that it wasn't the Native American Indians who built all these constructions, but their ancestors, who we know from the accounts and the archaeology were people of large stature, and their heads and their skulls were in a variety of shapes and configurations. And this is some of those images, and they put their images into the walls, and Jimmy has been focusing on these images lately, and they are absolutely identical to the descriptions given in the accounts of these rather large people. And I'm 99% certain that that's who's responsible for the stone constructions in the Northeast. And I'll go back to this, and people in Vermont should consider their state very special there, because Vermont has the most number of stone chambers in the United States. Not only does it have the most number of stone chambers in the United States, but it also has the largest one. And the largest one in the state of Vermont is approximately the same size as the King's Chamber in the Giza Pyramid. And the stones that cover this thing weigh tons. And so think about it. This is a chamber as large as the King's Chamber in the Giza Pyramid, in the Khufu Pyramid. And there's a chamber in Vermont that size. So
Vermont is so mysterious, and it's almost covered over in trees and leaves and earth, and there's not a lot of people walking around in the woods. There's more.
Not a big population either.
It's a mysterious place that has an ancient story to tell, and it's the epicenter. And if you go just a little bit southeast, you hit America's Stonehenge with all those ruins there. And
Salem, New Hampshire, yeah.
That's exactly 100 miles from where we are in Springfield. And then you go to Connecticut. It's almost like a triangle. It's a triangle, and if you get into that triangle, you'll find things that it'll tell a lot of stories about ancient America. And like Dave said, I think maybe they spread out from here and radiated out, and not from the other way. Maybe they came from across the land bridge, but that was way after what we're talking. We're talking before that. And if you can bring your mind to go back that far, you'll start finding these people and evidence of them. And there's people out there in Connecticut and New Hampshire and places like that looking at these rock formations, and they're giant formations, very large, geoformed.
And more than ever, people are looking at these things more than ever, and I think it has a lot to do with the work that Jimmy and I have done on the walls. We've inspired a lot of people to go out there and start looking at these walls and looking at the different stone constructions. Because it's not only the walls, you have effigies, you have stone chambers, you have cairns, you have earthwork, you have all these things to be found in the Northeast. And Jimmy and I, before we got on the air, we were talking about dolmen. And Vermont happens to be one of the states that also has a lot of dolmen. And we were talking about the place on the planet that supposedly, officially, has the most dolmen, which is South Korea. But that's official. Unofficially, I'm going to say, and I'm sure Jimmy's going to agree with me, that probably the most dolmen in the world are to be found here in the northeastern part of North America. And people also have to remember too, when they think about the stone walls and stone constructions, it's not just here in the United States. It doesn't end at the the border of country between Canada and the United States. It's also in Canada too. So when we account for the stone construction, of course, thousands of years ago there was no borders or anything like that. So there's much to be found in Canada as well. I'm going to cover some of that on my channel, but let's not discount that. So it's a huge area of construction, and these dolmens, a lot of them to be found in Vermont. What I think also happened with the dolmen is that many of them were incorporated into the construction of the walls. So I think what you had is the Neolithic period where a lot of these dolmen were constructed, and then sometime after that period, maybe still in the Neolithic, but into the Paleolithic maybe, that these stone walls were being constructed. But before that, they were doing the dolmen. And I think that a lot of the dolmens that we can find in the Northeast here have been incorporated into the stone wall. So you would have to separate them out in identifying them. And I think that after you did all of that, you would find that the greatest number of dolmen to be found on the planet are here in the northeastern part of North America, especially in the United States.
You can find more information by going to YouTube and searching for Paleo Mountain Man or Stonewall Research, Budcat 7.